Hi there. My guest tonight came to Australia as a refugee, seeking a life with a future, a life with possibilities, a life without fear. He was a child living in Rwanda when the country dissolved into genocide in 1994, a child who fled the country for a life in refugee camps across Africa, living at times alongside those from whom he'd sought to escape. 19 years after the atrocities committed in Rwanda killed over 1 million people, and having spent the vast majority of his life living in those refugee camps, he now lives here in Brisbane. Pacific Haginemana, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You were a child, 8, I believe, at 1994.
And by 1994, I was like 7 to 8 years.
Yep. What do you remember about Rwanda at that time? What was it like prior to that growing up? Did you have a good childhood?
I couldn't enjoy my childhood because as the way I was growing, there was kind of threats because the country was already in not peace.
Yep.
Like the enemies were almost ready to attack the country, and the tribal wars and threats against the neighborhoods were still going on in the country. So the children were not safe by that time, whereby sometimes we'll be told to hide in a house. Mm-hmm. While the elders are talking how the issues can be solved.
To put it into context, Rwanda was originally a territory of Belgium, and the Belgians put in a place somewhat like apartheid in South Africa, whereby they decided that we're going to create 2 different tribes as such, and we're going to have the Tutsis and the Hutus, and because we're going to select you because you have lighter skin and a thinner nose, and you're now going to be a Tutsi. And because you have darker skin, you're going to be a Hutu. Now, the Tutsis are going to be the people who are going to have more power, and the Hutu are going to be the people who are the servants. And that's a system that the Belgians put in place. And then when they decided to pull out of Rwanda, they left everybody to pick up the pieces. And with the Hutus being the vast majority of the people in the country, understandably, there was some pretty significant issues that arose straight away. Is that how you remember it?
The little history I remember about Rwanda, about how tribes came and how the Germans came, because Rwanda, we believe that the first people who were indigenous Rwandans were the Twa, which is the tribe that is not recognized well. And then later on, the Twa, after they occupied their lands, and then the Hutu follows. Then after the Hutu, then the Tutsi came after. So that's all what I can remember. And then the Belgium later on, they started now dividing, measuring the nose of the people, saying this, you belong to this tribe or you belong to this tribe.
So you really would have a country where the indigenous people of the country are living on different levels of civilization, for example.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Like even in the political parties, you find that they have got no shares. They're just, we believe that they are innocent anyway.
Yeah.
They are innocent. They just depend on their own working. And while most of the government sectors are occupied by Tutsis and the Hutus and Tutsis were sharing the same government, right? Yep. And then while the other people like Paul Kagame, who's the in the forefront of the leader of Tutsis, who has been a refugee for 30 years in Uganda and other countries abroad. So immediately when the airplane for the former president Juvenal Haginemana when crashed in April, that's when the mass killing began. So at this point, we don't know who's the causer, who's behind the scene. As I was young, I don't know much history, but the people and the politicians who were there, they know what has been done. They know how it came. If they are ready now to prove and put the truth in justice, then people will understand more about what happened between the Tutsi and the Hutu.
Is that still part of the process now? The international courts are still trying to get to the bottom of what actually happened and who was responsible for it?
Yeah, of course. Like there is the tribunal court in Tanzania, Arusha, which tries to bring the people who involved in the genocide. It's working effectively to bring the people who participated in the genocide, to bring them against trial and charged or convicted or sort of that. Yeah, it's still working even now.
Tell me about the time when you were separated from your family.
When I separated from my family, like what I can remember, we were just sitting at home. Then we were seeing people. Like Rwanda is a small country, but
and it has
yeah.
a massive population problem
Yeah,
at this time.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
the most
Very
overpopulated
populated,
country
yes.
in Africa. Yeah.
Yes. So like the example which I can give is if the bomb explodes in Brisbane, people from Brisbane will start running away.
Yep.
And then people from Brisbane will go to Kofsaba, and people in Kofsaba, they don't have that much knowledge to say, we're hearing these sounds of bombs. And then they will be just sitting peaceful home. But those who are running, they will be just telling, no, the war is back.
Yep.
So that's what happened. We were sitting just at home. My father by that time, he wasn't around. He was at work. And I was with my mom and my sisters and brothers, pretty much just enjoying home and playing kids stuff. And then when we were seeing the people moving with their luggages saying, no, things are not good behind, the bombs are exploding, people are dying, we thought maybe it's for a short time, or maybe those are the people to go, then the war just finish from there. We're not going anywhere.
Yep.
Since we're even waiting our dad to come back and
Yep.
tell us more about, because he was working in the capital city. And then within a short minutes, the bomb exploded just behind the house. And I went this way, my mom went this way, my brothers went this way. But at a certain point, we came to meet where the people were gathered, so many people from different districts and different provinces as refugees. Then when we were gathering there, still more the enemies who wanted to take over the country were behind. So it was just a journey, a continuing journey whereby we didn't know where we're going. Yeah.
You're just trying to keep moving
Yeah,
away
to
from
keep
the
moving.
from the fighting.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And did people understand then what it was that was actually going on? I mean, this had been coming for a while. What was the reaction to people? This is now happening to us. We're being chased out of our land. Was there any kind of idea that it would be possible for this to get better?
Yeah, quite a few the elements, like the fact that we were seeing that things are getting serious and people are being attacked. It's when we were seeing the buses of the former soldiers coming in the bus injured, they lose their legs, and pretty much Red Cross helping those people, like innocent people who were injured as well. Yeah, so we said everyone, even the kids, could imagine and say things are very serious. Like, if comparing to me, because I was raised like in a village whereby it's a family, then I have to play with the family kids. So when I was playing with other kids from different provinces when we were running, I thought this is getting more crazy. I was even happy because I was getting more friends, to know more friends. I didn't know what is going on. But later on, when I saw blood shaded everywhere, I said, no, something is going on.
It's amazing how as a child you can still remain in that child's bubble of enjoying what's going on immediately while all this chaos is outside, and yet having that chaos really starting to intrude on your own mind in so many different terrible ways.
Yeah, because no matter when, it's every kind of humans, when you see blood, you started thinking something else.
Yeah. What was it like in those initial stages, living in that camp? It must have been chaos.
Yeah, definitely, because by that imagine you have left your own home with the food, and then where you are, there is no food. Maybe you are struggling to get somebody food who's also starving. Maybe the mom is not finding the food which is sustainable to her family. So it was kind of crucial, whereby other people were forcing themselves to go to steal to some other people's food, and then they get even killed from there, or maybe get to enemies who are hiding there and then get killed. Mostly that's how people from Rwanda, when they were running away from war, they died from different issues. Yeah, some they died just because of war, being shot or used by machete. Others they were dying just because of thirst and hunger. Yeah, so many stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your family is together at this stage. What was your parents' plan to keep moving, to stay there? What was there information coming that this might be an option for us to go, or there was just nothing, we're here and we don't know what else is going to happen to us?
My dad was always telling us to say no. Things will get better tomorrow, and we'll get back home. Don't panic. Don't do this. But my mom, she was always. She was like, no, maybe I'll die tomorrow. Maybe after tomorrow. Oh, things are getting worse now. And my dad was always saying to her, no, please, don't interfere, my children. Don't worry. We'll be safe very soon. We're going back home. But then later on, we stayed there like 2 days. The same enemies attacked the gathering of people, those thousands of people. So many people, again, got killed there.
Yep.
And my mom was like, you see what I told you? This is what I told you. Things are serious. We need to evacuate from this country. It doesn't belong to us anymore. So we got it serious now to move on. And my dad got it as serious. We started moving. Moving with other refugees who are escaping from the same war until we crossed Rwanda to Burundi. And by crossing Rwanda to Burundi, you couldn't cross during the day, because Rwanda and Burundi is very much the same country, because even before the Germany, Rwanda and Burundi was the same country. Okay. It was called Rwanda Urundi. Yep. Which means this is Rwanda and that is another Rwanda.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's very funny.
Yeah.
So people, they speak the same language. Yep. Despite the pronunciation. Yep. So the same enemies which are in Rwanda and the same enemies who are in Burundi. So you could be killed in a certain way where you don't know. So we pretty much started to cross Rwanda to Burundi during evening time.
When it was safe.
That's when we crossed the river called the Rusizi until we went to Burundi. And the day there in Burundi also, there was no safe. The place wasn't safe because enemies could come anytime. Your fellow neighbors who belongs to this tribe would prepare you to be killed the same night. So when the place was not safe, then my dad told us to evacuate from Burundi as well, which we did during the night. Mm-hmm. And crossing Burundi to DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Yep. And that's where we were located by UNHCR in Rwanda refugee camp, which had also massive people from different countries, also Rwanda, and some of the Burundians refugees were being affected by their political parties. Yep. So we met there as refugees in Rwanda refugee camp.
And that's the big thing with so much of this violence being driven by the militia, who were people in the community who decided that they were going to take this on board and then be encouraged. You needed to understand, I guess, the feeling in the country at the time. But so people who lived next door to each other were suddenly enemies.
Yeah.
And this didn't stop when you left your neighbourhood, when you left your country. The people in the militia were travelling as well, trying to get away from the battles, weren't they?
Yeah, sure. Like, even the enemies themselves are like the people who were in army. They were pretending to be civilians just to make sure that the people are killed, like the number they wanted to kill. So they were pretending to be refugees as well. You find somebody whom you are sleeping together is a soldier, belongs to these enemies who are attacking the country, and then you sleep together. You don't know who the person is. Maybe the guns and the other stuff are just slapped in the blankets or somewhere. Then during evening time, most of people are dead just from nowhere, and you just think about it and you say, no, oh yeah, I can realize that some of the enemies are within us, because very much the country had to lose control.
How do you look back on that time? How do you process that in your own mind, looking back at that period of your life?
Looking back with my life, it was a crucial moment which every time when I reflect back to what happens either to my families or to neighborhoods or to people whom I was seeing being killed, to my fellow childhood friends, I feel like I'm strong. It makes me strong.
Yeah.
It makes me strong.
After the break, life as a refugee.